Dear parents, what is the most important thing you need to know about fever? I think the most important thing you need to know is that there is no temperature above which you need to suppress the fever. That means if your child is doing okay, you can let it fever as high as it needs to fever. It will come to a plateau and then eventually the fever will go down again without you having to give any medicine. Why? Because fever is regulated by the body, and the body makes sure that the fever does not increase to a dangerous level. Fever is created by the body to help the body fight infections, fight bacteria and viruses who cause infectious diseases. If you really understand this, if you really understand that fever is a positive thing, then you are ready to deal with fever in a way that makes your child feel comfortable and safe. Because if the child feels that you are panicking about the fever, it will start to panic itself and not feel good. If the child feels that you trust the fever and can accompany the child in the process, then the child will feel safe and secure and will be able to deal with high temperatures without too much distress. We adults often get headaches with fever and feel terrible and need to take fever-suppressing medicines, even though we don't necessarily need to. But most children can deal with fever quite decently. Now, if you have a positive attitude towards fever, you also need to be aware that fever can be the sign that something dangerous is going on in the body. So, you don't need to suppress the fever, but you do need to consult a doctor to make sure that what is going on is not dangerous. Now that will depend on who your child is. If your child is very young, below the age of 6 months, you will want to consult the doctor immediately on the first day when the child has a fever. If your child is older, then you will only need to urgently consult the doctor if you feel something is going seriously wrong. For example, if the child is unable to bend its neck, if the child has changes of consciousness which you think are strange, or if the child is doing very poorly. Once the doctor has made sure that your child does not have anything dangerous, you can wait 2 or 3 days and watch how the fever is developing. You will see that normally towards the evening the fever increases, and then in the night it decreases again to be lower in the morning and increases again towards the evening. That is the normal course of fever, and if it's very different from this normal course, then you will also want to see a doctor. So, 2 messages are important for me. First, you do not need to be afraid of the fever. Second, you need to make sure that the underlying cause of the fever is not a dangerous one. Now, some parents will say, but isn't fever dangerous for the brain? No, fever is not dangerous for a normal brain. If your child has a normal brain and hasn't been brain injured, then the fever is not dangerous because it is controlled by the body to not increase to a dangerous level. Other parents will say, but doesn't fever cause febrile seizures? Yes, fever can cause febrile seizures, and these normally occur while the fever is rising. Now, until recently, doctors would tell the patients to try to suppress the fever to prevent the febrile infections. But several studies have shown that this is not possible, that suppressing the fever with paracetamol, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Novalgine, metamizole does not prevent the febrile seizures from occurring. We cannot prevent them. Luckily, simple febrile seizures are not dangerous for the brain. They're terrible to look at, but they pass away, and you just have to be calm and present for the child. And be aware that this is not harming your child. About 5 to 7% of children get febrile seizures, and this cannot be prevented. Now, what can you do if you don't want to suppress the fever with pharmacological medicines and your child is not doing well, you can try to comfort the child, to make the child feel safe, offer them little sips of something to drink. Some people have good experiences with putting very thin slices of lemon on the soles of the foot and putting socks on top of it. Or if you do compresses on the shin, then make sure they are not cold compresses. Make sure they are warm compresses which don't cause a counter reaction of the body and which enable the heat to flow in the periphery and then to evaporate. It's the evaporation of the fluid that takes away the heat, not applying something cold which can cause a counter regulation. I hope this information has been useful to you on how to deal with fever, and if you need more information, you can look up Facebook Warm Up to Fever, and soon there will be a website on the theme for more information and scientific background.